Paul, Executive Director, TS Innovation, FinTech Engagement Lead at JPMorgan. Thanks for joining us on the Resilience Conference.
Thanks for having me.
So that was an example of resilience in the middle of a Zoom webinar. So I'm glad we modeled that correctly to the audience. Yeah,
we did it.
We did. So maybe you start by introducing yourself and sort of your domain within JPMorgan.
Yep. So my name is Paul Margarites again. So I'm on our innovation and fintech engagement team within Treasury Services. So our focus is our Treasury Services clients, so our corporate clients, and really kind of helping them build the next generation of solutions. And to do that, we typically look into the fintech universe and see, who can we partner with, who can we work with to build those solutions, to partner also with our clients to rapidly test and design and scale those. So that we're really thinking, 3 to 5 years out, how can we bring that 3 to 5 years into today?
So I kind of have a two-part question. One is take us back to pre-COVID. Like, what are some of the challenges, if we can go back that far, if you remember, what are some of the challenges that were impacting treasury teams then? And I guess, how has that changed since in this current crisis?
Yep. So yeah, the before time. I missed the before time. So
Me too.
Treasury management at corporates, no matter what the size, is a complex job. On the smaller end, when you're a startup and you're emerging as a company, you're really trying to build the ship and drive it too, right? So you're trying to build the various treasury management processes and the capabilities. You're opening accounts. You're enabling the ability to pay via different payment methods and receive via different methods. And that's tough, and you're just trying to get the job done, and you're trying to build those. At the same time, on the other end of the spectrum, when you're a large corporate with an international presence, you've got all those same complexities, partnered with the ability to do that across countries. So across geographies, across regulatory bodies, which is pretty complex. And at the same time, you're also thinking those processes I built earlier on. How do I do some sort of digital transformation to get away from those very manual processes to something that makes more sense for a large corporate that's much more automated?
And now
post-COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Post-COVID.
Yeah.
All those complexities still exist, and now we've got even more. We've seen obviously from COVID, there's curtailed physical movement, which means a lot of different kind of aspects for a company trying to move money across its supply chain. We also have potential decrease in capital and even decrease in demand for what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to process. So, you're really dealing with additional liquidity risk. I have to pay much more attention to my accounts, what's coming in and out. And in addition, you have clients who necessarily aren't paying via traditional methods. So I'm a business that's, traditionally accepted a check or cash. Suddenly no one's showing up with that check or cash. I got to quickly, move over to being able to accept, ACH or other digital kind of payment options that I wasn't necessarily used to.
Well, do you see COVID then as sort of a perfect storm for treasury teams?
Yep.
Does this hit them, I guess, where they're the most vulnerable?
It's absolutely. I mean, it's just, these are all the complexities and the problems they knew they had, and they were on the long march of progress to try to resolve those. But the thing is that treasury teams traditionally could have a nice roadmap of what I want to automate over time. I could focus project by project to start my digital transformation. COVID, slam, everything is important. I need to digital transform all these different capabilities all at the same time. Naturally, when it comes to a treasury management team, the partner they're going to turn to, and the partner we obviously saw them turn to, is their bank. Because you're looking to the bank to say, all these things I used to do with you, they were file-based, or, or I'd call up on the phone to talk to you to do something. I can't do that any longer. I need you to help me move this 3-year roadmap I had of transforming digitally into a 3-week roadmap of transforming digitally.
That sounds easy.
Oh, easy. It was cake. All done.
So let's move then into, you've set the context and the scenario. Can you talk about now how JPMorgan has moved into helping these treasury teams during this time period?
Yep. So, the first thing we did was we tried to organize ourselves in our approach in terms of how our clients are thinking about it. We got a very client-centric approach. And we really ingrained that in what we're doing. And we understood that what our clients were trying to do is first kind of safeguard the core. What are my accounts? What's my cash flow look like? What are my positions look like? I don't need to know that, at the end of the day or at a weekly basis. I need to know that in real time. Then it's continuing business operations. So I still need to make payments, but as I mentioned earlier, I may need to do it digitally now. So we focused on, what can we offer within that slice to make sure that our clients who aren't necessarily doing things in person with each other now have digital options to continue their operations during COVID. And the last piece, which is of incredible importance as well, is we still want to build for the future. We don't want to pause the progress we've made in terms of our capabilities and what we offer clients or our clients' digital transformation. So we wanted to make sure we were continuing to invest in those digital solutions. And when it made sense for our clients that are looking for that next generational solution now, that we were able to quickly kind of pivot, get in there with something new and help them out in that regard.
So you mentioned these three things that JPMorgan is doing. Can we take them one by one and maybe drill down a little bit further in each? So
Yeah.
Let's start with safeguarding the core. Can you remind us what that means? And I guess what you guys did to ensure that the core was safeguarded for your clients? Yeah.
So the core from a treasury management perspective are what is my account balance? What's in my accounts and what are my cash flows? What's coming in and out so that I could appropriately prepare for disruptions in my business model caused by COVID? We kind of approach it in two kind of dimensions. The first dimension is really access to that data. We have the traditional methods where we'd send a statement, we'd provide end of day kind of reporting to our clients, but from a COVID perspective, that's not necessarily enough. They need that information real time. So we obviously have our JPMorgan APIs that we began pushing out that information so that our clients can ingest those data points in real time, and they can react. They can make those decisions that they need to make today versus waiting for an end of day or waiting for an end of week. It's very much a real-time treasurer that we're helping. The second dimension we kind of approach it from is the client experience when it comes to accessing that data. And that's where we've really kind of seen clients adopting the digital solutions we offer today. I'll give you a couple examples. So we have clients that still obviously use Excel for a lot of their reporting and a lot of their cash management processes. We need to make sure that we're adapting and providing those clients that use Excel the tools that they need so that they can continue using Excel, because they are not necessarily ready for a large transformation in their processes. So what we did with our APIs is we actually embedded our APIs into an Excel plugin. We had a client come to us particularly that said, I need this in Excel and I need this as soon as humanly possible. What we were able to do is roll out our Excel plugin to them. It was connected to all our APIs. We did the implementation on their behalf and partnered with them over 9 days so that they could provide and get that real-time reporting into their Excel-based tools, again, within 9 days from start to finish. Other clients want to experience these APIs and this information in different ways. I'll give you another example. A lot of our clients have obviously an ERP in which they're managing all of their business processes, and they often perform their reconciliation processes in that ERP. What we did through our Treasury Ignition program is we were able to roll out those same APIs, those same balances, those same transaction detail in very much near real time, pushing automatically into our clients' ERP systems. So we had a number of clients say to us, I have global accounts. I traditionally ingested my statements one by one. I perform maybe a weekly or monthly reconciliation process, but because I need to pay closer attention to my liquidity risk because of everything going on, I need that, and I need that in my ERP today. So again, we focused on that client experience, that digital client experience, and delivering that information for their core systems into their ERP within 1 to 2 weeks for each client that's using that.
So staying right here, like, what did it look like behind the scenes at JPMorgan to be able to do this? Like, what did the teams look like? How was the communication handled? Was it business as usual and just stepped up, or how did you guys kind of come at this problem?
Yep. So our approach, particularly when it comes from a reporting perspective and administration perspective, is there is a very much client experience approach that we're trying to take. We've kind of carved off the different ways in which clients want to ingest this data. And we know what the roadmap particularly looks like from that. We want clients that, give me the APIs, I'll figure it out. I have my technology resources, just give me the APIs, in which case the APIs are available. We have clients that want, you say, I have no technology resources whatsoever. During COVID, I have even less. I need it to link into my systems. Therefore, we have a roadmap of linking it into their core systems and no technology required implementation process. And then, as I mentioned, we have clients that use treasury management systems, and we have clients that use Excel. Our goal has always been to provide the client experience that the client wants. What it was like from our perspective is basically taking those endpoints that weren't already existing and pulling them into the very near term. So the Excel plugin, for instance, is something we've had, but to be able to deploy it in 9 days is something that we turned around real fast. A lot of our kind of integrations into some of the treasury management systems and ERPs, for instance, again, long roadmap of what we're integrating into, pulled it very much into the presence. So it was a little bit of a scramble, but it was a well thought out plan and strategy we had. It was really just a matter of pulling that into the present versus trying to figure out what it is we're trying to do and then rapidly doing it.
Got it. And so, Paul, what about that second pillar that you described, maintaining operational continuity? I think you said. Can you give some examples of the interaction between JPMorgan and its clients there?
Yeah. So, I mean, the interaction is very much a client comes to us and says, here's my problem. I'm trying to do this today. I'm still trying to go by my strategy and what I'm trying to do. Whether it's expand your business by region, expand it by size or capability, and it's JPMorgan reacting. I'll give you one real example that's very much prevalent that we often don't think about, but our clients that we're growing, particularly those who are growing in different regions like Asia, for instance, they're still trying to open accounts and still trying to do things in those kind of regions. Banking processes had traditionally be very much a wet ink signature type operation. So if I'm opening an office in Hong Kong or Singapore, I need someone in the local branch to sign for it, or I need someone over here to also sign for it. That's not possible during COVID, or not necessarily possible. For instance, I don't even have a printer in my house. So if someone sent me over the document to sign, I wouldn't be able to print it myself. What we're able to do, is just quickly get approval for DocuSign for our clients, roll that out rapidly so that a client's trying to open accounts that traditionally hadn't accepted digital signatures or e-signatures, we were able to push that out really quickly.
And I mean, all the while, JPMorgan, I assume you guys are dealing with your own organizational issues and sheltering in place, working from home. You don't have a printer. How are you juggling all this as it's happening? How are you juggling client demands with sort of your own operational getting back up and running?
As a firm, I have to say, I'm really impressed with our reaction and the nimbleness that we've really kind of approached this. So obviously we're all on Zooms all day long. So I'm still seeing all my peers. A client issue comes up, that's always top of mind. That's always the number one thing we're focused on. And just this client-centric attitude that not only my team, but other teams in JPMorgan have is just so clear in the DNA in which we operate. In addition, it's so great to see just the understanding that everybody's life is happening around them. You may have heard my baby screaming inside at one point in time, and thank you. And you'll probably hear my dog barking at some point in time as well. That is it's just an accepted way of life, and it all will do is raise a little smile because everyone's dealing it at the same time. But we still are all moving forward, and we're really all working as a team to push these digital solutions so that our clients can continue their business operations.
And how did communication happen between JPMorgan and the clients during this time period? Like, I assume there's some type of relationship manager who's talking directly to the clients at all the time. And how is that then, those requirements then, sort of reverberated back to the rest of the team? What did it look like as all this was going on?
Our relationship managers, our sales teams, they do a great job of pulling in product teams for these types of decisions. So when it comes to like our innovation concepts, for instance, we hear a lot of feedback from our sales teams, but they know it's really important for us to hear from the clients themselves. So immediately, particularly when it comes to our digital solutions, like our Treasury Ignition program, like other things we're working on, it was very much, we need to get Paul and others in front of them, hear what they're trying to do, take that back. Also being able to understand, okay, I know what you're trying to do. I'm also understanding why you're trying to do it. Let's make sure we're presenting the right kind of path forward for you. So getting product teams and innovation teams in front of the clients themselves is really just I think one of the most powerful things we've done from translating client needs into actionable solutions.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to go back to the three pillars. The third pillar was sort of building for the future, if I got that right.
It is building for the future.
Exactly. So can we talk about, I have to assume the initial stages were just kind of getting, like you said, getting everybody up, connected, functional. Now you're thinking about like, maybe it's too early to say the new normal, but you're thinking about the future. So what does that look like? And what are the things you're helping your clients do now?
Yep. So one of the things that we're very much invested in, obviously I've talked about APIs quite a bit, but open banking is incredibly important for us and for our clients. And the ability to make payments via API and really embed those processes and capabilities for our clients is really part of what's becoming the new normal here. And I'll give you a very much real example here. So I've mentioned business disruptions due to COVID for a lot of our clients. Well, we have one client, and there's many clients, but one client in particular that business disruption meant incredibly increased demand for their product, which meant incredible increase in the need for them to pay their workers. And one thing they recognize, and we've recognized as a firm, is that for particularly for the gig economy, one of the new normal pieces is that employees or workers need to be paid not necessarily at the end of the week or the end of a month. They might need to be cashing out, in the middle of a day or at the end of a day. And to do that, we really need to embed our real-time payment options for those clients to ingest so that they can pay their workers, again, in real time, something like 8 seconds from payment initiation to payout. So what we did with one client that came to us, they said, you know what, I need to start making these payments. They're more urgent. I need real-time payments because I need to pay my workers. They need the ability to cash out on a daily basis, but also I need to make sure I'm paying the right people. I don't want to be paying accounts that necessarily aren't them or don't even exist. What we were able to do with this client is take our real-time payment APIs, as well as our ACH payment APIs, and work with them and partner with them together to deploy those solutions so that they could pay those workers in real time, and that they could leverage the early warning services that we are embedded in to check those accounts in real time to say, I'm trying to pay an account. It is a real account. It is this person. Pay that person this much. They can take their money out for the day, which will help them during COVID and help them maintain their daily lives and what they're trying to do and how they're trying to live.
So I know, Paul, in your role, you have a lot of interaction with the FinTech community and with partners. How has, I guess, third-party services, your partnership, played a role in sort of the entire story you're weaving together today?
Yep. One of the great things about working with fintechs is just how nimble they are and how they react to a problem and a challenge is just speed. They've been a huge accelerator in terms of things that we're doing. So I mentioned our Treasury Ignition program, where we partner with a company called FiSpan to help us embed in ERPs. And when we work with them and we're working on an enhancement or we're working out on adding something, we're not talking about a 6-month to 3-year roadmap here. We're talking about something that's going to be deployed in a couple of weeks. Another one of our partners we work very closely with, Travada, which is a multi-bank cash application, cash flow forecasting tool. The same kind of story. When we're working with them and we're trying to deploy a new partnered solution for our clients, it's something we're designing, we're defining very quickly, we're testing with the client in a matter of weeks, and we're rolling out quickly. So just that speed to market has just been an incredible to work with, and particularly in a role like mine.
So I guess, can we drill a little bit deeper there? I'm curious to see, like, as you said, like they're nimble and they're moving quickly, and probably much quicker than your clients necessarily can move. As sort of the center of the hub and spoke model, JPMorgan sits at the center. How do you manage, I guess, understanding that interplay between how quickly the fintechs can move and sort of you're on the client side? Like, how do you manage that? Like, in a way, like the fintechs can, I guess, empower you to move faster than maybe you thought you could.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I run into that challenge every day. I build out a capability, and the next thing I need to do is make sure I have a client ready to test, right? And particularly now where clients, have their plate full, it could often be hard to find someone to test something. Fortunately, the way we look at it and the way we approach these solutions I mentioned is very much client centric. So again, with our Treasury Ignition program, I'll give you a real example. When we started our Treasury Ignition program, which is, again, connecting directly to ERPs, we started with a client roadshow. We had an idea, we had a concept with a FinTech. We went to our clients and said, what do you think? Tell us about your connections to JPMorgan from your ERP. What do you see? We took that. We knew what our clients were looking for. We knew what we could build in 3 months. We knew what we could build in a year. Conceptually, we knew what we could build from beyond that. So when I'm trying to build that next stage capability, I generally know what our clients are asking for. And the clients who are already using it are asking for the same things that our clients who began with are asking, these are the long-term things I want to do. So when I know something's coming down the pipeline, I start sooner rather than later finding clients who are going to test it. We know our clients really well. In my pool of how many of our clients I have in our Treasury Ignition program, I know who are clients who are really dying to test new things. I talk to them every day. I know what they want to test. So I make sure when I'm going to test something, I don't build it, get to the end of building it and say, okay, who's ready to test this? No. I start way before that finding someone to test it. And quite honestly, when you're testing digital solutions and you're testing digital solutions that do not require clients to have any sort of tech implementations, it is much, much, much easier to find clients willing to test those solutions because the ask is very small.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to shift gears a little bit. We talked a lot about JPMorgan. We talked a lot about your clients, but I want to hear a little bit more about you, Paul, and your background. And eat some
Sure?
humble pie. Yeah, I am sure. And I guess I want to look at it in the context of how you might think that enabled you to become more resilient as the leader of your team.
Sure. Wow. So, one of the things, kind of resiliency in it's just kind of part of my nature in a little bit. It's like, I'm always thinking about not necessarily just like, what do I need to do to invest in the future, but what do I need to also do to safeguard, what's going on around me? And it kind of comes from my background around risk management, to be quite honest. Previous to JPMorgan, I was actually at PwC advisory doing risk management. And one of the things, again, as I mentioned, I kind of do always look to the future and look at what's next. So when I was at PwC, I actually ended up starting our RegTech practice over there. I knew that, technology, everyone was talking about FinTech because FinTech is so exciting. But from a risk management perspective, I understood that, it's not just FinTech and the ability to make payments, the ability to invest, but it's also the ability to use these same emerging technologies to better manage your risk and be resilient in how you operate and behave. And, that work has really been a part of how I kind of operate, always investing for the future, but always making sure that future investment is something where you're going to safeguard yourself, your own corporate company, your own business values, what's important to you.
Got it. See, you did a good job talking about yourself.
It's talking about myself is not necessarily my favorite thing to do.
I think it adds a lot of color to this conversation. And do you think, Paul, given all the activity that's happened, did some of this, so Tearsheet has covered a lot of, from the perspective of financial institutions rolling forward digital transformation plans that may have lasted years into a matter of weeks, months. JPMorgan is a different type of organization, of course, but how has this impacted, I guess, your plans for your part of the organization? Like, has this rolled forward your own plans, or are you on a different sort of, a different path now?
It kind of, I'll say our story as an innovation team is speed and I'll add the layer of security in there as well. So we want to partner and do things for our clients very quickly in a very secure way. And what I'll say is it's really shined a light on the work that our team is doing, because we're a team that's able to kind of get in there in terms of in terms of a client problem that the client is articulating to us, and figure out what makes sense here, and what's going to make sense to scale. And I'd say, we don't, as you mentioned too, we don't do things in matters of years. We do things in matters of weeks. And what that's kind of done, and we've had some pretty good success with the concepts we've been working on. What that's done, I think, is shine a light, to the rest of the firm as well, which have obviously noticed the work we've done, but said, they're doing something right, because this roadmap that they've been executing on it. They've been moving it, they've been moving pretty quickly. They've been focused on the build to the future, but the things that we focused on build to the future are actually now in business continuity, which is exactly what we want to see in terms of our work. So what it's done is see, again, shine that light from the rest of the firm to say, this is a really good way of doing things. Let's make sure this is, this team has the runway they need to do to continue doing it, but also let's take that culture that group has built, which I think our group has a great culture, and let's ingrain that into the DNA of the rest of the firm. And it's, I'll say our workload has ticked up tremendously, but in a very good and very positive way, because that lets us build these solutions for our clients.
Well, can we go exactly to that point? What is the culture in your team? And I guess through that lens, understand what it is that made you guys successful during this time period.
Yeah. So our team is still relatively young. I mean, we are a team that's about 2.5 years old. So when we started this team, Jason Teedy, who runs the team, kind of came in and he was of the mindset to say, I want to hire and bring on people with different backgrounds and different perspectives. So on our team, you have people who've had their own startups, you have management consultants, you have some people with banking experience, obviously, but we really come from different backgrounds and different experiences. And I really think that allows us to lend our unique perspectives to the problems we're facing. We also are people generally with a culture that approach a problem from not from a perspective of this is why we can't do something, but we can figure this out, let's figure this out. And the hurdles that are going to come up, let's not ignore them, let's understand them and figure out how we can get over those hurdles. And that, particularly from a perspective of being at a large bank, is something that's really let us accelerate. We understand the institution we're working at, we understand that JPMorgan needs certain controls in place, and that we're building and designing the art of possible, not skipping over those things, but with those in mind and getting things done.
It sounds almost like, also, Paul, like your background as a consultant has contributed to that type of culture. Do I understand that right?
It helps. I mean, the consulting toolkit's really interesting because obviously the biggest piece is that it helps you frame a problem in a very understandable way. And it helps you communicate what that problem is and what a potential solution is. And then, you kind of layer on, at least in my background, the risk and regulatory piece, which from a bank is just paramount in terms of thinking. It really helps because when we're trying to do something new, I'm able to quickly say, well, here's probably the things we might have a problem with from a risk management perspective. Or if I look at a fintech to say, well, here's some things we need to think about if we're going to work with them. Because, I mentioned speed and we're really happy to do things fast, but we're JPMorgan. When we do something, we lend our brand name to something. So it can't just be fast. It has to be secure. It has to be safe. So the things I design need to have controls embedded in them. The partners we work with need to have the right controls from their perspective to make us comfortable that we're working with them.
That makes a ton of sense. And I think that that's a segue into my next question. You described some of your team's attributes that helped you guys become resilient. What did you notice on the customer side? Like what type of organizations were the most resilient during this time period?
Yeah. I'll say the types of organizations that really leaned into digital transformation are the ones I think that were able to react really fast. We have a lot of clients. I mean, we tell our clients, partner with us on these digital solutions. And I've mentioned it, like come to us, talk to us. What are you looking for? And the clients that really leaned into that and worked with us directly to kind of get those in there, they were able to turn things around, I think, quite a bit quicker than anybody expected. Everybody has digital transformation as part of their agenda. And those that were able to kind of lean into it, I think benefited quite a bit. The other thing I'll add is when you're transforming anything in terms of, your business processes, it's scary and it's frightening because you're used to a certain way of doing things. And even if it's a more automated way, you're still used to the other way. So I'd say, the clients that, again, were able to recognize that but able to work with us to change those processes when it helped them, they were, again, able to accelerate their transformation and really react really quickly.
How much input, I think, if we stick with the third pillar of going forward, how much input does your team's roadmap plans influence, I guess, your clients at this point?
Well, I'd actually say it's the reverse.
Okay.
Our roadmap is entirely defined by our clients. Again, I'll use Treasury Ignition and even our relationship with Travada. Everything we're building with them is coming from our clients. I will say, though, to flip it around back to your question, though, I have seen quite a few clients flip around their roadmap in terms of what we're offering. So, again, with ERP plugins, I've seen clients, go in different directions with whatever ERP they're using based upon what our roadmap looks like for connectivity. I've seen clients willing to put off or move forward certain abilities, like the ability to make, local ACH payments in Europe, to get more digital solutions in the US. So it's really a play on both. Our roadmap, which again, my team, I would say our roadmap is defined but very flexible based on client demand, is very much driven by clients. But again, to your point, I do see our clients kind of adjust and tweak based on what we're delivering in the very near future.
That's awesome story. So if you're ready, we have a couple questions from the crowd. Let's bring on Shuman first. Hey, Shuman, you're on. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks for your talk. I'm Shuman Bhattacharya, the editor-at-large at Tearsheet. I thought it was interesting when you were talking about how you were able to get approval for DocuSign pretty quickly, and it kind of like I was thinking of the backstory behind that. How did you enhance your internal processes to get approval for things much more quickly, and how did you kind of reinvent that cultural aspect with so little lead time?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing, and one of the things I mentioned is that all these kind of digital components had been on our roadmap in some way, shape, or form. So the conversations around a lot of these, using e-signatures for typically wet signature documents, they're conversations that had happened and had been going on. I think what really drove the point home is just, obviously the impact of COVID, and then just bringing in our legal and compliance partners and really understanding why we couldn't traditionally use it or why we did not traditionally use it, and really the client demand and the client need for it. And I think I work quite a bit with our legal and compliance team. That DNA of that client-centric approach I mentioned, it sits with them as well. Honestly, it sits with them quite a bit in terms of protecting our clients as well. So I'd say, being able to kind of partner with those representatives, understand what were the traditional challenges that we face, particularly in the regions I mentioned in APAC, and how can we make sure that we can confirm that the appropriate safeguards from a DocuSign or from an e-signature perspective or from an email indemnity perspective are there from our side, are there for our client side, and push it over the finish line.
Thank you. So essentially, you already had a lot of the enabling factors in place, and this took that further, or accelerated it.
It's quite a bit.
Thanks.
Okay, we got another question from Josh. Let me bring Josh on. Josh, can you, when you come on, can you introduce yourself? You're on mute as well.
Hey, what's up? Josh Liggett, work at our crowd on the investments team as an associate. Every time I talk to someone from JPMorgan, I gotta ask, what's your best Jamie Dimon story?
I don't have one yet.
Oh.
I know. It's killing me. I don't have one yet. I wish I had a good story, but I mean, it's great working for a CEO like that. Jason, my boss, I've mentioned, I know he has a story or two, but I hope to one day be with JPMorgan long enough that I will come to you with my Jamie Dimon story. And I hope it's hilarious, and I hope it's awesome at the same time.
Fair enough.
That's great, Josh. Thank you. I guess. Oh, sorry. But so that's a good segue, I guess, for our final question. And it doesn't have to be around Jamie Dimon, but can you talk about, I guess, how the organization rallied, like what the messaging was from leadership, senior leadership in the bank, I guess to every division, like what was happening behind the scenes that that enabled you guys to become resilient? What was the transmission? What did the transmission look like?
Yeah, there was a lot of communication, and I'm a big fan of transparency and communication personally. And I, from leadership team down through the business lines, down through our managers and Jason TD, who I work for, it was a consistent, email communication, toolkits for how to help your teams and how yourself to make sure you have the tools to not only continue your job, but also make sure everyone's okay and has the appropriate resources they need on there. And so there was a ton of email communications, a ton of town hall meetings on what we're going to be doing, and a ton of kind of personal check-ins, at various levels. And then, from actual tools we were using, immediately turning on Zoom, immediately jumping on to make sure that not only that we're talking to each other and, we have conference calls, because, you can only take so much of 10 minutes of so-and-so's online, so-and-so's on, whereas Zoom, you jump on, you see everybody. But the immediate rollout of tools like that to help us, kind of operate. And there was some sort of stat where I think it was 90 or 95% of our front office within like 2 or 3 weeks were completely remote. So that change and that ability to change just happened so fast. And I really do feel like JPMorgan as an organization has provided us those tools to continue in our jobs and continue in our lives. But even beyond that, I mentioned it earlier, the people. I'm just so incredibly impressed with my peers at JPMorgan and the people I work with, and just the ability to adapt and to understand that we're all going through something right now. Everyone gets a little bit of a leeway in terms of, noise background or what's in the camera or so-and-so. So it's just honestly, it's been a very good positive energy, I think, across levels.
Paul, I wanted to thank you for this great discussion. It's very interesting learning about your role and I guess everything that went down over the past few months. I don't know how you're awake, but I'm sure there was tremendous amount of work on your end. And I appreciate you presenting at the Resilience Conference.
And thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. So that wraps up Paul Margarites from JPMorgan. We're going to take a 7-minute break. So we're going to start again at 1:45 with Kim Prado from RBC. We'll be talking about mobile and the role of mobile within her firm. So we'll catch you back then.